Greetings, Captain. I am Aura, your AI companion. I am here to help you find your way through New Eden. Welcome to the first day of your new life as a capsuleer. I am now transferring your pod into a ship, provided by air as part of your Aborting power. Captain, an unidentified communicating. Vectoring escape route. Evacuation sequence initiated. Station hull integrity compromised.
Hey. So I'm just getting things set up, so I'm going to be dropping onto comms shortly. So this is going to be a presentation about, this is our 101 guide to fleets, FCing and having fun in Eve. So I'm going to drop down on comms shortly and enjoy the rest of the stream. If you've got any questions, by all means ask in the stream. Okay. So we're at 2001. I reckon if there's no like issues with starting, I reckon just start now. So hopefully you can see my screen. So just click on my name on Discord and you should be able to then start watching, and you should be able to see a splash screen which says 101 guide to fleets, FCing and having fun in Eve. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So first of all, hello, welcome. This is our FUNxER's 101 guide to fleets, fleet commanding and having fun in EVE Online. Okay, so that's a snazzy intro slide, but what are we actually going to be talking about today? We are going to, I'm going to talk to you today about fleet commanding, or FCing as it is more widely known. Fleeting up and getting good, all whilst having fun in EVE Online. Now, hopefully during the course of this presentation, you're going to get to know me a little bit and understand the benefits of FCs and also FCing in the process. And who knows, at the end of the presentation, you might even get the urge to FC. So during the course of the presentation, I'm hoping that you will gain an understanding about what a fleet is, what makes up a fleet, and why each and every one of you can lead a fleet if you follow some really, really simple basic steps. I'm also going to open what is known as FUNxER's Pandora's box and share with you some of our handy hints and tips for running a totally awesome fleet. And later on, I'm also going to introduce you to our calendar, the FUNxER NPSI.rocks calendar and community gateway, which we set up a few years back, and which will hopefully give you an indication as to how you can get involved in NPSI. Now, I'm hoping the presentation will be around about an hour. It may last about an hour and 10, something like that, give or take. I'll do a Q&A at the end, so just save any questions to the end. That'd be appreciated, just to sort of save time, why not. So, as I kind of mentioned at the start, I am streaming this live on Twitch, so for anybody that's got any questions that don't want their voice on stream, just type into our public channel, and I can, obviously in Discord, and I'll pick up the questions from there. And as said, we'll have Q&A at the end, so any questions, hold until there. Any issues with that? Any questions? Right, just first of all, before we kick off? Excellent. Now, I'm just going to add this caveat right from the start. Now, what this class is not is how to FC. How to FC, what targets to call, how to fly certain doctrines, or how to beat opponents, win fights, that sort of thing. This class is about giving you a framework to develop your fleets. So think of it as a guide or a checklist or a task list, something like that, like a shopping list, to help ensure that you give yourself as best possible chance to run a successful fleet every time that you run one. Think of this as an FC's toolkit for success. If you think of it like that, you will not go wrong. I've added some Easter eggs. So these Easter eggs, they'll become apparent through the course of the presentation. So keep your eyes out and jot them down if you see them. There might be a prize or something, or an Easter egg or something. Wrong time of year for that. So anyway, so what's the plan? First of all, just a few introductions about me to put myself into the wider context of Eve with a fairly standard slide. So who am I? My name's Keacte. It's pronounced Keacte. I'm the CEO of FUNxER and the principal FC and general all-round tinkerer in FUNxER. FUNxER is a player corporation in its own right and home of NPSI.rocks, which features around 20 totally awesome NPSI groups. I started playing Eve in 2004. And actually got into it via my girlfriend. She's now my wife, so I must have done something right with Eve and so on and so forth in time. I did the usual things, mining, ratting, missioning, and in around about 2005, give or take, I took the PvP University basic class run by the most awesome Agony Unleashed. And sort of since then, I've been hooked on PvP. It's basically all I do in game. I joined Agony in 2009. And when they closed their door in 2018, I took some time out, and it was about a week, and I decided to take the plunge, and I set up FUNxER, even better with friends. We're actually celebrating our 7th anniversary this April, in fact, this coming April, which is bonkers to think, really. I need to update those stats. I've got more kills than that now, I should notice. Now, since 2018, we've run in the region of 1,500 gangs via FUNxER and the NPSI community. I set up the calendar, and we've had more than 100,000 visits to the website during the course of the time. And in the process, we've advertised many, many thousands of fleets via our Discord and obviously the website. So in addition to the corporation, I'm also the alliance lead for the Ancients, which is it's the one true NPSI alliance in Eve. I'm also a veteran of 6 or 7, I think it is now, maybe, alliance tournaments. 3 as a captain, and we have successfully warped battleships at 0 and 1. But I have the odd historical loss of having been known to lose a flagship Bargast in less than 32 seconds, which is quite bad, really. Outside of the game, but still within the sphere of Eve, I was interviewed at FanFest live on CCP TV. I've FC'd at the FanFest LAN party 2 years ago, I think it was, and I've also presented twice at FanFest. And also at FanFest again, I ran the NPSI community meetup brunch, and over the last 2 times we've raised about £3,000 for the central, the Children's Hospital in Central Reykjavik. So I also did TSM 17, as mentioned at the bottom there, I forgot to say that. And somewhere along the line, I've ended up talking to you tonight. So let's talk about FCing, fleets, and having fun, and the business of serious internet spaceships. So let's get going. One last bit, that's a bit more about me. I'm tea drinker, Guinness drinker, die-hard Metallica fan, guitarist, DIY, and a bad streamer. Some of you might recognise me from Twitch and whatnot. So anyhow, so you know a little bit about me. Some of it's pointless, some of it's of relevance. But you're all here to find out about fleets and fleet command. So I'm going to just say these couple of T's and C's, terms and conditions, first of all, right from the outset, because they're pretty important. I suck at Eve. Basically, although I've been playing Eve for a long time, and although I FC a lot, FCing wise, I'm not the best FC you'll come across, and I'm not the worst FC you'll come across. However, or I should say, but it's a big, big but. What I lack of in ability or skill, I try to make up for in fun per hour and passion in what I do. I know I'm looking down the sort of channel listing, and I can see some names that I recognise, and hopefully, I've got people that might agree with that. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So before I push into the meatier part of the presentation, I just want to touch on how and why I actually started FCing. As I mentioned, whilst I was in Agony Unleashed, I actually started FCing during the latter part of my time in Agony. And it was at a time when if somebody didn't step up to do a fleet, people wouldn't log in. Now, depending on how long you've been playing EVE for and how many times you've been around the block, you might recognize that situation. EVE goes in cycles. It ebbs and flows with people, new players coming in, people with desire to log in, and so on and so forth. But one thing that I noticed with time is if a content creator or an FC doesn't log in, then people don't log in. But in the process, people end up complaining that there is no content, and those are the same people that leave, and it leaves a hole in effect. Obviously, as people leave, there's nobody logged in per se. Now, what you have to understand is content creators like FCs are valuable in EVE. EVE needs people. It needs people to fly with, people to shoot at, people to shoot you, and people to kill you, and you need people to run away from. Now, the cut and thrust of it, I know I'm oversimplifying things there, but the cut and thrust of this is that although I do FC, I kind of stumbled into it. I'm not going to say reluctantly. I'm going to hold that word off, because I did want to do it, but I didn't have the confidence in my ability to do it. Now, once I got over all of that, like, oh my god, that kind of fear mentality, Fleet Command's actually a doddle. Now, I say that, and I say that in a parenthesis. 95% of it is a doddle. The other 5%, which is the pew pew part, is basically fighting and or reshipping. Now, and that is a fact. Now, for me, FCing it's my reason to log in and play. It gives me satisfaction through collaboration, fun and learning, and playing with people, and playing with awesome people, I should add. So I've told you a bit about why I started FCing, but let's look at the benefits to the individual. Now, FCing, it's a super way to hone your skill set and to develop confidence at PvP. No matter what size of the fleet, fleet commanding is a great way of learning game mechanics, tactics, psychology, and situational awareness and adapting under pressure. Now, in the process of fleet commanding, you're going to make new friendships. That's an absolute given from within the community. And it's also a fantastic way of developing a network of pilots and people that you can rely on to roam with. Effectively, you create a really, really solid foundation and group of pilots for PvP. This alone will keep you logging in, and that will keep you logging in time and time and time again. And that is a fact. I've been gaming with some guys in Corp and within the NPSI community. I've been gaming with them for the last 7 years and beyond. Regularly, twice a week, sort of thing. Now, fleet commanding for me was a huge step forward. I'd been a passenger for so long in EVE, and taking that next step to FCing, without a shadow of a doubt, it is the most rewarding aspect of the last 20 odd years of EVE for me. And that I say with zero hesitation. Fleet commanding is a great pathway for your own personal development. And you'll actually be amazed at how many things actually overlap into actual real life. Now, for those of you that saw my presentation at FanFest a couple of years back, you'll probably recognise a few of these slides coming up, but they remain completely relevant for this presentation, so I've kept them in. So let's take a quick look-see. So, meet Dave. Everybody likes Dave. He's your average EVE punter. He's a cool dude. He's got a bit of swagger, and he's been along to a few fleets now. He hasn't gone very far because he lacks confidence. Now, as you gain confidence and ability, you're taken out of your own personal comfort zone. Your comfort zone is where you exist in the today, the here and now, this very moment. It's effectively what you're settling for at this precise moment. It's the path of least resistance. It's where you're getting by, you're coasting along, that kind of thing. Now, beyond that comfort zone is the fear zone. Ooh, the fear zone. Everybody gets really scared by this, but it's really not scary. People that don't step out of their comfort zone do so because of fear of failure. Fear that they don't have the required skills, that they don't have the right skills, that they don't have the right experience. They're basically scared. They're scared to fail. And people's fears are created from criticism from others, their self-confidence, their anxiety, and so on. Now, sitting in a comfort zone is fine in the immediate, but you're going to get bored. You're going to get bored just existing, you're not contributing, and that's why FCing is such a great thing for personal development and growth. Now, sometimes you just need to stop being scared and just go for it. And if it didn't work out, that's it. And at least you know now what to not do the next time round. Now, you might lose a spaceship, you might die, obviously in-game. Now, in EVE, this could be anything, but for the purpose of this presentation, it's fleet command. That's in effect what I'm getting at. Now, but whatever the function is, the point is that is doing something that helps you learn, grow, and develop that is of relevance. So it's a well-known fact that playing video games releases chemicals in your brain, like dopamine. They make you feel good, and when you complete or succeed at something, you receive serotonin through into your brain through accomplishment, satisfaction, or achievement, and so on. You have that fantastic mix of happy hormones that make you feel great, and they make you want to log in because you're getting that reward. So you've kind of got into the comfort zone, you know, into the fear zone. Now, beyond the fear zone and the comfort zone is where the magic really happens. Once you get out of that fear zone, you're in the learning and growth zones, and it's called the fun zone, this area, I think. Your brain loves learning, and it gets addicted to progress. In effect, what you've done is you've activated the creative part of your brain, and you're learning, you're developing, you're growing, you're evolving. Fleet command affords you the opportunity to take you out of your comfort zone, and it allows you to learn and grow as a player. And that learning and that growth, couple that with the hormones released in your brain, that makes you want to log in, and that makes you want to play this game. So I'm going to continue this ever so slight derailment. It's not really a derailment, it's a perfect logic. So I'm just opening a drink. So let's take a look at Kolb's 1984 model on experience-based learning. It's represented by a 4-stage learning cycle where effective learning only occurs when all of the stages of the model are executed. So in effect, you have the experience, you reflect on the experience, you learn from the experience, and practice what you've learned whilst experiencing it. It's fairly obvious when you actually think about it. EVE and fleet command is very much the same. Effectively, you would form a fleet, you would fight, you would reflect, you would learn, you would gain confidence. You gain ability, you would then fight again, you would reflect, you would learn, you'd gain confidence, gain ability. You see where I'm going with this. It's a self-perpetuating circle. It makes you effectively get better as you progress. So sidetrack aside, wanting to demonstrate how in isolation a fleet command can be, although it can be incredibly daunting, at the same time it can be incredibly rewarding. In terms of your own personal development in game, but also out of game, in all fairness. So before we kind of move on to the next couple of slides, I'm going to start with a really basic question. Who has seen Star Wars? Just key up if you have and just say yes.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Yes, as I expected. There's quite a few people who have seen Star Wars. So it's a really silly question. What is a fleet? Now, the definition of a fleet is a group of ships sailing together, engaged in the same activity or under the same ownership. You could also say it's a large group moving or operating together. The common thing about these definitions is that they operate in unison and in harmony. Now, for the purpose of this class, I've not actually differentiated between types of fleet. Obviously in Eve there are many types of fleet, but for the purpose of this class I'm going to be focusing on clearly the best type of fleet, which is obviously PvP fleet. So at its most basic level, fleet command is simply means moving your gang through space and making sure that all of your gang members are shooting the same target. I should actually add the caveat that are in the same system and shooting the same target. It's pretty simple. PvP fleets in Eve have kept me in this game, not just for the content and the pretty spaceships blowing up. It's for the collaboration, the social, the learning, the coordination, the teamwork. It's pretty simple for me. So we've looked at the very basic concepts as to what a PvP fleet is, but why would we lead fleets into combat? It's pretty simple. Fleet commanders are needed for several reasons. When you take out a fleet to fight, you're creating content for people at a variety of levels. Yourself, the players you're fighting, and your fleet mates, of course. But it actually goes far deeper than this. Eve is driven by player-created content and player interactions. Everybody knows that plays this game. PvP pilots need ships. Ships are built by people, from the minerals that are mined by miners, and so on. PvP drives a hell of a lot of the economy, the industry, and microtransactions within Eve. So if there is no one to lead fleets and gangs, there is no content. Now that's no content for not just the PvPers, but also the miners, also the people that are building the ships, and so on and so forth. It's a glorious circle, dare I say. So people get bored and they leave. So one which just by having an FC and content creator can be easily resolved. The second reason you should lead a fleet is to develop and expand your knowledge of PvP. If you want to develop and expand on PvP for the game in Eve, commanding a fleet is something you should look at doing. I desperately mean that. It might be a cup of tea, it might not be a cup of tea, but either way, it's a very rewarding experience. And I would say anybody can lead a fleet. I think every person should try to lead a fleet at least once, just to understand what it's about and just to understand the different kind of mechanics of it. So we've looked at kind of why fleets are needed to create content and the desire to log in, but what is the goal of a fleet? Now, for me, it's fairly simple, but for some, it's one of the hardest parts of commanding a fleet. Why are you running that fleet? And what is your fleet setting out to do? Now, your goals and objectives determine what type of fleets you run, and what you might bring to the party, and by association, what it dictates what type of fights you can try to take on to ensure that you win. Every fleet must have a goal, be it as simple as trying to find things, finding fights, and to kill all the things. And that's what I kind of centre my fleets around, just killing everything, basically. And the reason why I say that is it ensures you to know what your fleet is looking to achieve and how best to tailor your fleet to achieving those goals. So every fleet that I run has a simple goal of destroying as much ISK as possible and to have fun in the process whilst trying to fly FC to the best of my abilities and bring as much content to the NPSI community and fleet members that are in fleet with me. In all honesty, when I form up a fleet, what I'm looking for is explosions. Yep, 100%. I love Eve for that. totally love that for this game for that. I don't differentiate. I don't target particular groups, alliances, tickers, corps, whatever. I just try and kill as many things as we can. So here are a few simple examples. So hopefully you should be able to hear the audio on this. So enjoy. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you could all hear it. That's one of my own songs. However, let me just spin over to this screen. So I've lost my way momentarily, just bear with. Okay, so all of those kills that you actually saw there, they were, or 95% of them I should say, were actually killed on fleets that I run, and they were killed in combat interceptors. So small ships killing big ships. You'll see what I mean from what I've sort of said. We've destroyed about 50,000 ships since April 2018. And on the roams that I run, we've actually destroyed in the region, I think it's about nearly 3 trillion now, in all fairness. But lots of spaceships basically that have gone boom. So it's all good showing you about the awesome kills, and the fundamental reason why you're here is what makes up a fleet. You would have covered some of this in the previous session with Spanky, but I just want to revisit to run through a few things. So let's have a look. So in any PvP fleet, generally at its most basic level, you will have the following roles being filled. You have your tacklers, your damage dealers, and healers. The tacklers grab targets and prevent them from running away. They use warp disruptors and warp scramblers, bubblers, and hicks. The damage dealers apply damage to deplete the hostile ship of their shields and armor and structure by applying damage in an attempt to destroy the opposing force. Healers, not the ship, healers, prevent the tacklers and damage dealers from dying horribly in a ball of fire, and they're awesome. Now, I know I am simplifying this, but there are other roles, obviously, but this is the most basic requirements, basic level requirements. So, aside from those basic roles, what other roles are there? So, as I've mentioned, you have the tacklers, damage dealers, healers, which I perceive as the most basic components. In a basic fleet, you have the FC, you have the backup FC, the scouts, skirmishers, fleet members that watch 360 and local. Now, I've included a separate section for support pilots. These are people that bring along niche ships that perform a specific role within a fleet, like an interdictor, a Busher, a command destroyer, Logi, for example. And so as a fleet scales up, there is more need for more advanced components. These are nice to haves in fleet. More advanced roles include the executive officer, EWAR officer, somebody on probe duty, somebody on drone duty, somebody on rearguard, intel officer. Now, I could, pardon my French, I could crap on all day about the merits of having an intel officer scanning custom Discord channels for fights, looking for gangs, and also the value in having a rearguard, and so on. However, for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to focus on the most basic roles. The roles that have an asterisk on the right-hand side, they're optional roles, and they provide added value to your fleet. And you can have them, and it will benefit you if you have them as your fleet scales inside. Size, I should say, not side. So let's have a look at the most basic role. What is a fleet commander? The FC, fleet commander or boss, it's the overall content creator. It's the person that's in charge. This is the person that's probably, for the most part, is going to have the most things to say before, during, and after a gang, and during any fight, hopefully. And the FC is responsible for the mission, the objective, the goal, coordination, ship composition, doctrine, overall fleet movement. And they use the tools that are available to them. Now, that doesn't just mean, maps and this and so on. It actually means people to develop a narrative and a story. It's to develop that destination. Where are they going? What are they going to kill? What are they flying? As I said earlier, an objective on my fleet is to kill stuff and have fun. Other FCs might have other objectives. It could be a defense fleet. It could be an offensive fleet. It could be a strategic. It could be, whatever it might be. It really depends on the own personal situation, on their situation. And overall, the FC controls the fleet movement. They give advice when to jump, or they give commands when to jump, when to hold their cloaks, when to align, when to decloak. And they also manage the movements of the scouts and the skirmishers, and they process all of the data that is being collected. And it is based on that data that they make their decisions. Now, that's all fine and dandy. That's great. You've moved somewhere, you've gone through a gate, you found a fight, and you found people you can fight. Assuming you get a fight, the FC will call the targets when in combat and decides when the gang will shoot, when they will run away and hide. Effectively, they are the main kind of decision maker, and the buck stops with them. Now, dependent on who you have flown with in the past, scouts, they may also be called skirmishers. For the purpose of this presentation, I've differentiated between the two, as I think personally they are two very, very different roles. And I'll try and demonstrate how, or why I should say. Now, what I call a scout is someone that locates a target but does not engage. They get eyes on a prize, a trophy, could be a raw call, it could be whatever it could be. They're often in a covert ops ship, and they try to float under the radar and go unnoticed. They locate targets using their probes, their directional scanner, and they have the option to warp to locations cloaked and can have a fleet mate warp to them to tackle targets. So I differentiate between scouts and skirmish. This is what I perceive a scout to be. I know in some circumstances people use the two interchangeably, like scout, skirmish, as I sometimes do in my fleets, in all fairness. Now, a skirmisher, by contrast, it's the more aggressive role. And what I mean by this is they are actively hunting. They stay a jump or two ahead of the fleet, usually 1 or 2 hops maybe, and they locate, they aggress, and they hold and pin a target in place until a gang can arrive to kill it. In effect, they are the eyes and ears of the fleet. They usually, and I add that in parenthesis, they are usually in an interceptor class ship. They're often fitted with a warp disruptor, point, or a warp scrambler, scram, and they rely on high speed and staying out of web range to stay alive. Now, skirmishers usually fly in an interceptor. They can fly in a heavy tackle frigate, or an assault frigate, or an interdictor. You can skirmish in anything. Skirmishing isn't just inties. It makes most practical sense to do it in inties, in my opinion. However, you can skirmish in other ships. In effect, skirmishers locate targets through their directional scanner, sometimes with probes as well. They warp to the location, they engage, they hold, and then we come in and destroy. Skirmishers are the content creators in EVE. The FC just shepherds people to go and kill stuff and gives the skirmishers a bit of direction of where to potentially go. An FC without skirmishers, we will not kill anything. And that is a matter of fact. Now, interdictors, dictors, bubblers, they are advanced destroyer hulls, and these ships can launch a warp disruption probe and stasis webification probe. And these probes are one of the few ways to create bubbles, which prevent anyone trapped in them from warping. And these interdiction bubbles can suck victims away from their intended warp destination if they're launched prior to the victim commencing their warp, and they can be used offensively and defensively. Interdictors are the smaller siblings of heavy interdiction cruisers, HICs, which have different bubbling capability. I'm not going to touch on HICs on this presentation though. Can suck victims quite. Dependent on the fleet you are falling, you may have a small gang fit interdictor, which are generally fit for damage with a moderate tank and with secondary tackle. For a fleet interdictor, where the addition of the interdictor DPS isn't important, they often fit a cloak to increase the chance of remaining on the field and allowing pilots to use that utility, them to use that utility. Command destroyers, Bushers, they're T2 destroyers designed for fleet support. They can fit 1 or 2 command burst modules, thus making them the only sub-cruiser size hull to use command bursts. Their other massive benefit, or defining feature I should say, is the ability to fit a micro jump field generator. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what MJDs are, other than the fact they are absolutely awesome. Once the boost module is activated, in effect, the ship has the ability to move surrounding ships and objects within a 6 kilometer radius. Range within them. Drones, fighters, bombs, warp disruption probes, they'll also be moved. It transports them 100 kilometers away in the direction the ship's facing. Let me just say they are, for small gang and even for going into mid to large gang fight, they are a game changer potentially, and they have the ability to split off, split off Logi, split off DPS, break cap chain, so on and so forth. Just don't scram targets, bump the boosh, and you'll be golden. But I'm not going to cover too much on them. There is another class, obviously, on those as well, but I'll talk about that later. Now, logistics ships refers to ships and modules that provide remote repair to support other ships. Logistics ships in EVE are similar to the healer character classes that you find in other MMOs. They usually assist their fleet mates by restoring their hit points during a battle, and when they're in a fleet, they're responsible for using remote shield or armor reps to keep their friends alive. Now, usually this means that other fleet mates will use the fleet window in-game to broadcast for shield or armor when needed. The reason that logistics ships are included in fleet operations is so that damage dealers can focus on their job, so that they can focus on their own role. And so by having a dedicated logistics wing, the combat-orientated ships within the fleet can focus on damage application and damage rather than fitting for repairs. It's very, very important to differentiate that. And one of the biggest benefits of a squad of logistics ships is their ability to focus all of their remote repair modules on a single target. Now, by contrast, a fleet with no Logi relies on the individual to repair itself. So Logi is a huge thing. Logi is life, basically. It is a game changer, but just don't bring 10 times the amount of Logi that you need, please. Ooh, someone's keying up. Yeah, there you go, thanks. So I'm hoping, has that ticked over to the next page? Yes, it has. Now, when I talk about other support pilots, this is where you look at your force multipliers. These are your specialist ships or specialized ships, and whilst not strictly required or necessary for every fleet, these support pilots often bring electronic warfare, and they act as force multipliers. They bring things like target painters, sensor damps, weapon disruptors, missile guidance, jams, and so on. E-War decreases the enemy's effectiveness in battle using electronic modules, base modules, and E-War in itself is deadly without always dealing any direct damage, and can make a fleet several times more dangerous than it otherwise would be, and indeed it can make a deadly fleet effectively useless. Just imagine a fleet of I don't know, long-range kiting cruisers effectively damped to shit that they can't target anything outside 5 kilometers. So they're not going to be able to tackle. They're not going to be able to kite. Therefore, they will die. Now, there are 4 basic kinds of electronic warfare: electronic countermeasures, ECM or jams; weapon disruption, so tracking and guidance disruption; remote sensor dampening, damps; and also target painting. Now, I've added just one role on the bottom there, and that is it comes in the form of a combat prober. This can come in the form of a number of ships. It could be a probing interceptor. Those things do exist, and they're absolutely amazing. A probing interdictor, and also a probing T3D. And obviously you can also get a cloaky prober, obviously, like Keacte, that sort of stuff. They're incredibly versatile and incredibly useful to have. So don't ever underestimate their importance. Now, The notable exception so far is probably the most important. It's your DPS, damage per second. Without DPS, you don't have a fleet. Well, you do have a fleet, but you have a fleet of tackle, dictors, bouchers, and some logi, but nothing to kill them with. DPS is vital, and it has one vital role, and that is to deal damage to the hostile ship or fleet. I'm not going to go into every weapon type in EVE. You can pick that off of a weapons training course, I'm sure. EVE Uni, I'm pretty sure, have one. But needless to say, you need to make sure you balance the support pilots, the skirmishers, scouts, and so on. So you have sufficient support pilots to DPS in fleet for the fleet to be viable. It's really, really important. There's no point in turning up, with 10 support pilots, 3 logi, 2 dictors, this, that, and the other, and having 1 DPS. Because once that DPS gets killed, you're going to have to get off grid, and that's a fact. You can't deny it. I mean, you might be able to damp it to, but it's probably not viable, is what I mean. Anyhow, so you've formed your fleet. You're about to head out. You think you need to think about your critical roles now. Yeah, like our fleets after the break, in all fairness, that's true. You need to think about the critical roles in the fleet. These are the things that make your fleet run well. Now, when I fought a fleet, I tried to spread the information load to more than just one person, so more than just myself. I tried to spread this. It reduces the likelihood of decision fatigue. So one of the first roles that after Watchlists that I kind of plan is the directional scanner. So 14 AU D-scan, 7 AU D-scan, 1 AU D-scan. Now, what I mean by this is you set your directional scanner to a specific range, and when you're in a system, and you see local go up, you start hitting your directional scanner. This role detects and reports on emerging threats to the gang, and its importance cannot be overstated. If you watch and report anything that is on 360-degree scan and is potentially an active ship, it could save the fleet. So if you click on D-scan, on directional scanner every few seconds, as the situation can change every second. If you think about it, you've got 20 combat interceptors warping towards our location. They warp at 8 AU a second. So if they're 16 AU away, they're going to be on you in 2 seconds, in effect. I know it's not quite as simple as that, but that's the cut and thrust of it. It can change literally in the drop of a coin. Now, local watch is another really, really important one. Local is a chat channel. It's not an intelligence tool, despite what all the big blocks say. It tells you how many people are in system and in the system that you're currently located in. Every time you jump from system to system to system, local will update. So if you leave a system, it will go down 1. If you join a system, it will go up 1. Any people that come into the system will increment or decrement local count. So having somebody to watch for local changes, it's really, really important. It alerts the FC to any changes in the local situation, and it's essential for managing your potential targets and also the safety of your gang. Now, it's one final slide for this kind of section. It's how to be a good fleet member. Something which I think everybody, if you take one thing away from this first section, take these kind of 6 points away, I'd say. Take a role, take the weight off the FC and the support pilots. Support the content creator. They're the ones that are effectively trying their hardest to get you that action, get you the content you're looking for. Turn off all distractions. The FC doesn't want to have to repeat orders 3, 4, 5 times because you're watching YouTube or playing with a mobile phone. So listen and follow orders. I've got a classic example of this, and I'm pretty sure people that were flying on this fleet will remember this. I was FCing a fleet, and there was a chap on fleet with us. Wasn't one of the usuals, and just midway through, he was just like, "Can you repeat that? I can't hear you. I can't understand." It's like, okay, that's fine. I'm repeating it, and it was there was no comms chatter at the time. It was jump on contact, align next gate. Oh, can you repeat that? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. It's like, okay, and I was a little bit bemused about the situation, and then he just lost his. He went he went off. And basically just rage quit the gang. Anyway, I got a very, very sheepish message from him the next day. What had happened was that he had a tab open on his browser, and he didn't know that he had it open. And it was actually another FC of another group that he was watching on Twitch. So he was hearing FC commands from one FC, and it made no sense to him because he wasn't in that system. There wasn't a primary target that was a basilisk. There wasn't a primary target that was a falcon. There was no F10 gate. There wasn't. Do you see what I mean? So having that distraction there caused him to have to pipe up on comms to find out what was going on. He was very, 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 very apologetic about it because I think it was a genuine mistake. But just check that sort of thing. Just being distracted, it will diminish the quality of the experience that you will be having. Yeah, it was absolute cinema in all fairness. It was kind of funny. He went proper, like rage. I mean, it was quite scary. The next one, and that actually links to the follow orders in effect. Listen and follow orders. That's the current thrust of that. Be your own pilot. I can't fly your ship, and the FC can't fly your ship. You've got to do that. It seems fairly obvious, but you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. So just listen to the commands, listen to follow the orders. You have to do these things. It's not something I can do. I can cold warp you. That's what I can do, but above and beyond that. And this one's actually really important. It's don't backseat drive. All this will do is, for one, it's going to annoy the FC. For two, it's going to annoy the other fleet members. And it is actually pretty disrespectful if you think about it. It's going to erode the FC's confidence. If you erode an FC's confidence, they're not going to FC. If they don't FC, you won't go out. If you want to backseat, just run your own fleet. That's the way I see it. I would challenge anybody that says otherwise. It is super important. It's really, really important to support your FCs, that you turn up to the fleets, that you get active, that you get involved and support those content creators. Without FCs, EVE's pretty dull, or it can get pretty dull, obviously. Now, I've kind of spoken at length, possibly too long, not sure, about the different roles within a fleet, what they are, and to an extent their importance. But what I kind of want to go through now is it's a list of hints and tricks to help an aspiring FC, or anyone that's got the desire to FC, or anybody that is FCing, on how to improve. This is our toolkit. This is Pandora's box. It's going to help you learn. It's going to help you grow and develop and get good. In FUNxER, over the years, I've tried to help support new FCs and tried to sustain continued content provision. It's something I super believe in, super happy to push. So I'm kind of letting you in on a bit of a secret document here. So I'm not going to say feel privileged, but you know what I mean. So without further ado, I'll shut up and go to the next. Firstly, and probably most importantly, don't overthink whether you should run a fleet. Fleet commanding, along with some of the roles that I've mentioned, they are arguably the most fun that you will have in game. I've been playing EVE 20 odd years. How do you think I'm still playing this game and still fleeting up twice a week? It is because I do these things. I FC, I skirmish. If I'm not FCing, I'm skirmishing. If I'm not skirmishing, I'm in an interdictor. If I'm not in an interdictor, I will never fly a command destroyer because I am rubbish at them. And anybody that's flown with me will have heard multiple stories about how bad I am at them. I am literally the worst. I will never fly that wrong. I do these things, and I do these things that I enjoy, and I focus on doing what motivates me as a player. One of those things happens to be FCing. Hitting F1, despite what people kind of say, hitting F1 is really not fun. Leading a fleet is, however. Skirmishing is. Flying an interdictor is. And what do you notice about these roles? They're all support roles. That in effect, you're going above and beyond the traditional line member role, and you're offering added value. And it goes back to what I sort of said right at the start about when you learn something, you want to do it. So the cut and thrust of what I'm getting at is, don't overthink whether you should run a fleet. Just do it. FC, just set up a fleet. It doesn't matter whether it's just taking out 4 frigates, 6 frigates, 8 frigates, whatever. Go out with a plan. I'm going to go here. I'm going to chase these dudes. I'm going to hopefully kill a few people. If you're in frigates, if you die, so what? At the end of the day, hopefully, and there's 2 things actually, hopefully you'll learn from it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. And just those 2 things, that will make you want to do it again. And people will come out with you and do it again. Trust me. Kind of, this is linked to what I mentioned earlier, but it sounds super simple. It's just support content creators. I see it time and time again. You see veteran FCs, they get really good numbers. New FCs or newer FCs traditionally get lower numbers. It's such a shame. As really, somebody that's starting out needs the support. Somebody that's already developed and so on and so forth and has got an established kind of skill level, for want of a better expression, they need the help, the new people. You need them. They need people to help them grow and then them to develop. FCs are the lifeblood of this game, and if without them we don't have a game, or specifically actually PvP, I should say. New FCs will never become veteran FCs if you don't turn up. If there's it's nothing more frustrating. It's nothing more frustrating for an FC than low numbers, especially for a new FC, because they can't learn. And if they can't learn, they're not going to persist with it. They're just going to get bored and log off, and you won't see them again. I've seen it time and time again. I've seen guys, girls that have logged in, want to FCs, they don't get people to support them. They get 2-3 people turn up. They can't run a fleet because it's just not viable. By the time you've got a skirmisher, 1 person, 2 person, it just doesn't work. So hark back to what I said in the slide, support all content creators where you can support them. If you are thinking about starting to FC, start with something that you know. Start with a fleet doctrine or gang that you like and that you know best. You know its strengths, you know its weaknesses, and don't overcomplicate things. I've seen it time and time again. You see spreadsheets and this and applied damage and this, and I need this number of logi, and I need 14 of these and I need 32 of these. And before you know it, you've got a fleet of 70, and you just don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just take out armor frigates, take out shield cruisers, take out T1. Just keep it simple. Anything more than that, you're just overcomplicating things. Overcomplicating something that really isn't complicated will lead to you screwing up. Trust me. I've been there, I've done it. It's just not worth it. Just overcomplicate it, and you'll just do yourself a favor. Start with what you know. Start with what you and your fleet mates are comfortable with. You won't regret it. 100%. And if you do, come back to me and just send me like angry cat pictures or something. I don't know. Now, before you start, and before the start of every fleet, you should briefly talk to the fleet through the doctrine, what you're flying. So explain its strengths, explain its weaknesses, make sure everyone knows and understands the base level concept. Everyone must know the doctrine's capabilities. What's its grid speed? What's its warp speed? What's its align time? Things like that. These are really super basic. Basic notes, like knowing that the Rifter warps at whatever speed, and knowing its grid speed is 350 is absolutely key. Failure to do that is going to get somebody killed, because if you don't know that your 100 MN AB fit whatever turns aligns like a brick, you're all going to die basically. Because you haven't got that understanding, and that understanding that of the base concept of the fleet. It's really important. Get the fitting, put it into Python, understand its different capabilities, understand its grid speed, understand its warp speed. you know, take the time to think about your different ranges for your weapons. If you're using crystals, what are the crystal ranges? You know, so on and so forth. It's really, really important. Everybody that's in fleet should understand what ammo they should be shooting. Everybody should know what their base speed is. Everybody should know what their overheat speed is. These things are really important. That's not for the FC to do. That's for the fleet members and the line members to do. But the fleet members, FC should be prompting everybody to understand that speed or understand those different nuances. It's really important. And rifters do go 350. Definitely do go 350. It's an in-joke. I might share it later. I call this slide "Don't forget your toothbrush." It's a tip of the hat to something. Make sure your fleet has consumables. Make sure it's got ammo, paste, scripts, anything else that you might require in your cargo before you set out. It's super important. I say it all the time on fleets I run. You get 5 hops out. Oh, has anybody got any paste? Oh, has anybody got this? Oh, has anybody got that? It's just check it before you go. And if you have used the ship before, don't forget to top up the ammo. That's what I say. If you're lucky enough to get back in, to be in a fleet with me and get back in a ship, which is, I don't know what the odds of this, it's probably about 50-50 at the moment, in all fairness. Yeah, I'm in a dictator. I forgot my bubbles. That was a classic one. I was in stitches on that, wasn't I, Fletch? But basically, the cut and thrust of it is check your consumables. Before you undock, make sure you have all the stuff that you need. If you like, for example, but if you want to be the cool kid, for example, bring a mobile depot. You know, if you're running in fast roaming frigates, that sort of stuff, bring a mobile depot with you and bring some MWDs. You will need to use them at some point in a fleet. Trust me. Sometimes even the FC will need it. I'm not going to say too much about that though. I've put this slide in. It's about clones. Make sure your fleet mates are in clones that are sensible and that they're set to a home station that's logical and have an appropriate clone set in their heads. I say it on every fleet, but every 10 fleets, something like that, we get, oof, I was in my training clone. Every 10, 20 fleets, something like that. Now, I'm just going to put a link in the on the visual. This, I should clarify, this did not happen on one of my fleets. Thankfully. Now, don't be this guy. I haven't actually got his name on there, but you can probably track down the pod. It's easy to do on Zkill. Always check your pod. That's a 14 billion pod that got lost. And I think if you do find that kill, it was something pretty simple. It was like smart bombers or something like that. And in all honesty, just get into the habit, get a clone set up, and just. Yeah, I mean, they might not be that expensive anymore, but it was demonstrative, though. Basically, I went to Zkill, went capsules, what was the most expensive one, and that was it. And but I think, I mean, the story still suits. I know it's a slim narrative here, but don't be that guy. That's what I mean. Now, my fleets, and I hope people that have flown with me feel this or understand this. FUNxER and the Corp, it's all about inclusivity, and our fleets specifically actually are all about inclusivity. When I form a fleet, I aim to be as inclusive as possible. Many of the fleets that I run are designed to be inclusive of fittings for lower skilled pilots, and I use this example. How is a newer pilot meant to get involved if you put a barrier between them and the content? If you say to somebody, you cannot fly on this fleet because you do not have the skills, you need to log off yourself and go and think about things. Always have alpha ships or fits available for new characters. New characters are what keeps Eve vibrant. If anybody challenges that, I would be incredibly disappointed in that. these are the pilots that if you get them hooked on PvP, they will come back time and time again, and they are invaluable for EVE's future and its ability to maintain vibrancy. There's a high churn on players in EVE, in and out, and returning, in all fairness. If we put a barrier up to entry, straight away you're diminishing their chance for enjoyment and satisfaction. They will move on. They will go to another game. They will go and play something else because we're creating that problem for them. It's this time of year, I suppose. Now, have you ever turned up to a fancy dress party in a fancy dress? No, neither have I, but that's because I followed the instructions. As an FC, don't be afraid to tell people that their ship doesn't fit the doctrine and ask them to reship. There's always going to be one smart ass that knows better than the FC, or better than you. They want to bring a battleship to an NT fleet. They want to bring a whatever to a whatever. They want to be that person. Now, either they're going to reship into something that meets the criteria of the fleet, or they will log off. It's about respect. It's about respecting the FC and the FC's desire to ask the fleet members to fit to or as near to the doctrine as you can, so that it doesn't impact on the experience of your fellow fleet members by flying something that doesn't fit. Bringing a battleship to an NT fleet or bringing a cruiser to a AF gang, there are people that do it, and there are people that can do it because they've got the fitting skills to do it and they understand the warp speed and so on and so forth. But for the most part, try and stick to the doctrine. It's really, really important. It helps the FC so much because there is no one person in that fleet that sticks out more than the next. And that's very, very important. I use it on my Raptor fleets that I run, specifically actually so that there is no obvious primary. If there is a cruiser in that fleet, for example, just because that ship can fly at that speed that will mean it's going to be primary. I can tell you that for free. I will tell you that now for free in advance of it even undocking. Stick to the doctrine. It's super important. For those of you that have flown with us before, balancing of fleets is, in my eyes, it's probably one of the most important and I think probably one of the most under-evaluated processes in fleet operations. The fleet commander must ensure that the fleet composition is balanced. There must be sufficient E-war. Now, every Saturday and Thursday I use our fleet manager, which I've just posted. And for those of you that have flown with me before, you'll see what the back end looks like. For those of you that haven't flown with me before, this is what the back end looks like. And everybody fills out a little Google form, basically telling me what ship they're in and what E-war they currently have fitted. So as you can see in this fleet, I don't know when it was, there's 19 pilots, 2 Crusaders, 14 Raptors, 1 Claw, 2 others, probably Logi I'd imagine. So we had 8 points, 7 scrams, 7 webs, 4 damps, 4 tracks, 1 missile guidance. That's probably Nessie in the missile guidance, I'd imagine. And it allows fleet members to populate a quick form so that I know what we have on grid. So I know the numbers of E-war and the number of ships at a glance, and it allows me to understand our engagement profile far more effectively. Now, on this, for example, loads of tracks. So what could we engage potentially? Vargas maybe. Missile guidance, what could we, do you see what I mean? We're lacking missile guidance. So things like anything missile, spam, that sort of stuff would be a little bit, problematic potentially. Like rapid light caracals, something like that might be problematic, although we do have the damps, in all fairness. So it allows me to identify deficiencies in warp scramblers, webs, and so on. Using this example, we've got loads of scrams, loads of webs. And I know in my understanding, as far as I'm aware, we're the only NPSI group that balances fleet, balances the E-war as thoroughly as this. I'm super pro using this to understand what our capabilities are. There's no point in trying to engage a kiting cruiser gang that's going to be doing 3.5 if we've got 0 scrams, they're just going to get away. They are just going to get away. There's nothing. Okay, even with the webs, yeah, you might catch a few, but they're probably just going to blap you, so on and so forth. You've got 7 scrams there straight away. That's 7 targets that their MWDs are going to be shut off. You're going to be at 0 on them. The logi is going to go down within 30 seconds. We might lose 1, we might lose 2, we might lose 3. However, the balance will be firmly tipped in our favour because we've got far superior scrams. Even having the webs as well. Webs, get the long point on first, get the web, engage the scram, job done. Move on to the next target, move on to the next target. And before you know it, you will have killed that gang. Now, forming the fleet is where the real fun begins. You've got your objective. You start taking your invites. This is the crucial part of the fleet process, ensuring that fleet has all the roles filled. Depending on numbers, now I run anywhere between 1 and 3 skirmishers, scouts, 1 and 3 dictors, 1 to 2 bushes, generally up to 3 logi, and then I start adding in snowflakes, your hyenas, your kereses, your sentinels, and so on and so forth, and your other support pilots in effect. The formation of the fleet depends entirely on the turnout. A smaller turnout will likely require less support pilots. A larger turnout allows for more varied support roles. Don't be scared to adjust your plans based on numbers. As an FC, you must know the limitations of your doctrine. What is your critical mass? When to adjust the doctrine based on the numbers. Now, if you've got 20 or 30 DPS, 20 or 30 DPS might mean that you could take 3 logi or 4 logi. 5 DPS might mean that 1 logi is sufficient. Anything in between, 5 to 10 DPS could mean that you could do 2 logi maybe. Do you see what I mean? It's basically it's way up what is in fleet with you in effect. It's really, really important. You don't want to go out with 20 logi though. That's a given. Although that would be quite hilarious. And so one of the most important things, one of the most important aspects of fleet, of maintaining a fleet and keeping it running, is maintaining its control. It can get frustrating. It requires management of ships, and actually, in all fairness, it requires management of ships, your own ship, the doctrine, comms, people, intel. There's loads of other things. Maps not working, Dotland not working, Eve Scout not updating. All that said, don't be afraid to delegate those tasks to individuals that you trust so that they can do them. But don't over delegate to the point where you're not the one running the fleet anymore. And I say that it's really, really important. Delegate somebody to take X's whilst you're setting a destination, whilst you're checking the map, whilst you're deciding where to go. You're looking at deltas. Get one person to do the broadcast. Divide the critical roles, and so on and so forth. 1 Chris should be enough. We need 4 Chris's, come on. Now, as an FC, as I've kind of mentioned this earlier, you've got to know your game style. Some fleets are looking for easy kills and can hold grid if anything tries to counter them. Other fleets are looking for fights. Both, and I stand by this, both are valid fleet styles and have their own unique style of combat. I run hit and run. I don't generally go for fleet fights. However, there are certain fleet fights that we can take. There are certain fleet fights that I will just run away from because I don't want to kill you all. Or it's not even kill you all. I don't want to get you deaded, basically. People that have flown with me know or may have heard I fly really, really quickly. I cover many regions in one roam, and I try not to stay in any one place for too long. Whereas some FCs find that boring. Some other FCs prefer to camp, for example. It's down to the individual. But what I would stress is respect that FC and their decisions and their desire to undertake whichever game style that they wish to deliver. They might want to camp. They might want to just chew the cud on comms and so on and so forth. Some other FCs prefer to run around like batshit, crazy, so on and so forth. That's more my fleet style. I think it's because I sit on my arse all day at work. So some people prefer camping. Some people prefer roaming. Do what motivates you. Set up what motivates you. I go back to what I said earlier. If it's an assault frigate gang, or if it's a fast frigate gang, or if it's a cruiser gang, if it's a cloaky gang, whatever, do what motivates you. That's the cut and thrust of it. That's the takeaway from this. Who has heard of decision fatigue? Just say yes on comms quickly. Now, okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody was still alive. Plus, it allows me to take a drink. Now, decision fatigue, it's the difficulty in making a good decision experienced as a result of the number of decisions one needs to take. FCing isn't a simple thing. That's why everybody doesn't do it. Not everyone does it. It's multi-layered and it's forever changing. Having an FC as fresh as possible as you enter a fight is really important. And so a fresh FC that is focused, that is a sharp target caller. Anything else is suboptimal. So try and assist the FC by assisting with management of the fleet, taking support roles, taking directional scanner, so on and so forth, and help them improve the overall outcome of the fleet. Now, it's great that Miss is here, Misdemeanor. Misdemeanor, always have a backup FC planned. It's kind of an unwritten rule. He's my backup FC. It kind of goes unsaid, but I probably should say it more. But I think he knows that he's there. When I die, he's the next person who's going to be taking the hot seat. In public fleets, specifically, actually, the chances are people will know who the primary FC is, and by association, they will get headshot. It's happened numerous times to me. Now, it's really, really important to have a second in command. So, in effect, somebody who can step up to take overall control of the fleet from that point forward. Now, that could be getting you out of dodge. It could be getting you safe. It could be moving you. Whatever it is, it's having that secondary in place. It's really important. You might have noticed I've spoken about delegation a lot. I can't stress how important it is. I've mentioned it numerous times, but in case it hasn't sunk in, delegate, delegate, delegate. Try to delegate as many things to trusted individuals within the fleet, and your D-scans, your locals, your probe duties, anything that the FC doesn't have to do frees them up to make strategic decisions. It's not possible. It's just not possible for the FC to do all of the things themselves and focus on FCing effectively. It's impossible. So if you take one thing away from that other than delegate, step up and share the responsibility. It will make your fleets so much better. Now, I always go through watch lists. I think everybody does and should do. Sort watch lists and color code them accordingly. There's a partial shot of a watch list there. I know it's small, but my scouts, they go at the top. They're the people that you need to warp to. Dictators will be on their second. It's the second grouping, so from the top it'll be red, then orange, then yellow, then green is Logi. I put snowflakes, your probers, so on and so forth in blue. It's really simple. That's mine. Choose your preference and just set it. Keep it consistent. What you'll find actually is, and I do find this quite comical, is that when people step up for roles, when you add them to the watch list, invariably they're already coloured to the role that they've done previously for you. So you see who your regular scouts are, you see who your regular Logi are, because they're always coloured the same. So you know that the previous time, if they were red, they actually scouted for you, and they're now in green because they're Logi. It's quite good. And make sure you know who your primary scout is, and everyone has those people on the watch list. And if anyone in a key role drops fleet, make sure that you add them back to your watch list. It's nothing more frustrating than somebody disconnecting, and then they go and get tackled on something, and then you've got a fleet listing of like 40 people or 30 people or what have you, and you can't find them on, because you're having to scroll and so on and so forth. So if they disconnect, make sure you add them back to the watch list. Be concise with your orders. Next. Now, as an FC, I was silently laughing there, by the way, just so you know. Now, as an FC, you need to have the ability to filter out irrelevant information in order to fight off information overload. Again, it goes back to decision fatigue. When faced with any decision, we mentally place all choices into our decision-making filter. Our filter separates the unwanted choices from the wanted choices. This makes our decision easier. So all the fluffy crap that people say when they're giving recon that's over and above what's needed, so on and so forth, it's filtered out. It makes the decision process, it makes decision easier. Now, as I stated, decision fatigue is real. Just think about the choices that you've made to get here, just even today. Now, I mean, for me, that was to snooze or not to snooze, white socks or brown socks, white toast or brown toast, 2 eggs on toast or three bits of bacon. I actually went for 3 and 2 in all fairness. Tea or coffee, it was always tea. I don't know why I asked about the coffee. What should I work on first? Well, I wasn't at work today, so that didn't matter. What should I do for lunch? What should I do for dinner? You get what I'm getting at. From the moment that you wake up to the moment that we fall asleep, we ask our brains to guide us in the best possible way, always hoping to make the right decision. And I put that in parentheses, the right decision. And with each decision made, our ability to effectively make the right decision actually decreases because of decision fatigue. So it helps every FC if you can build up a good network of trusted skirmishers that you can rely on to give clear, filtered, concise and relevant recon. Even your dicta pilots, even your booshes, even your logi. So when I FC, I try to rely on the same people. I understand their recon, I understand their temperament, I understand their engagement, I understand the cadence in their voice, for example. I can tell when X person needs us there and he needs us there right now because I can tell by the cadence in his voice, if you see what I mean. So it's super important. And it's an amazing thing actually. Even in real life, it is actually something that in real life it will help you, twofold, tenfold in fact. I put this slide in. And what I mean by this, listen with your brain engaged. Learn to listen to recon reports as a line member, but also learn to listen to recon reports as an FC. It will help you build up mental maps in your mind in order to second guess other FCs. If there's a fleet chasing you, you know that the interceptors are going to be chasing you harder than the cruisers because the cruisers warp at 4 AU and the INTs warping at 8 AU and the dictors warping at 8 AU. So you know that in 3 jumps their INTs or dictors or whatever are going to be strung out. They're going to be further ahead. How many times have I killed dictors that are chasing us hard or interceptors that are chasing us hard because they're not with their fleet? Many times. It happened just the other day, in fact, and perfect example for this. If you can build up a mental map in your mind of where your skirmishers are and where your opposing forces and how you can get out and how you can get to them and how you can cut them off and how they can cut you off, by contrast, you will thrive as an FC. Having the ability to understand warp distances, warp times, bubble mechanics, aggression mechanics, it's absolutely essential for FCing. It allows you to formulate quick plans on the fly. Now, for me, I use .lan. I always have .lan open. It's been a bit sketchy recently, I don't know why, but always know your movements, always know your exit strategy, always know your attack strategy. Having a map open will engage your brain strategically. Having the map open when you're listening to other FCs that are FCing will help you no end as well. I can't stress it. It's a simple thing. If you're lucky to have dual screen, just set up .lan on the left hand side and follow what the FC is doing. It will help your situational awareness. It will help your ability to. It will give you the ability to actually understand what the FC is doing for a start. But it will give you an understanding of what's going on, where the hostile fleets are coming from, and their movements and so on. It's absolutely essential. I'm quite bad at this, I'll be honest, this part. But I like to think that I try and have tried to get better at it. And what I mean by this is time to regroup. I move super quickly. It's really important though, before you actually take a fight, it's really important that you regroup in advance of that fight. It's a simple case. It's of strength in numbers. If you're burning 20 odd jumps to go somewhere, your fleet might get spread out over 2 or 3 jumps. So if you try to regroup before you take any engagement and just bring the fleet back together, slow the fleet down. So when you arrive at the engagement, you arrive with your full DPS. You set out at the same time, and you set killing that thing at the same time. There's no point in having a fleet of 20 if 5 arrive first and your one gets alphaed, another one gets killed, so you're left with 3. You've then got 15 behind. Those next 5 then dribble in, and you lose another 2. So you've already lost 4 DPS straight away. So that's 20% of your DPS gone straight away before you've even, tickled that Varga. If you arrive 20 at a time, crack on. It's regroup. If you regroup before the engagement, it will help. It also serves the purpose, and there's a little bit of a tricky thing in here, it also serves the purpose of slowing down the momentum of the fleet to take an engagement at the correct time. Now, when people are rushing between gates and rushing and click, they get a bit hypersensitive to, I've got to do this really, really quickly. If you just draw people's attention back and just slow things down, it will help the engagement go your way. Now, this slide is it's pretty obvious what it means. Don't choke. The worst FC is the FC that doesn't say anything and freezes. It's the absolute worst mistake any FC, new, veteran, old, whatever. The worst mistake is an FC is just doing nothing. Any action is better than no action at all. Mistakes kill ships. Silence kills fleets. Choking can come in a number of ways. It could be hesitation or just not saying anything. I've been on fleets before where the FC has become so overwhelmed that they just haven't said anything, and then just people start dying, and how it usually. The FC knows the doctrine better than anyone. They know how it usually fights. They know the current situation may be suboptimal. Just go with what you know and adjust as you go. If the primary FC chokes, the secondary FC should recognise that sign and step up and take control sooner rather than later. If you have that silence window of more than 5 seconds, 10 seconds, that secondary FC needs to be on comms, needs to be saying what to do. Now, it could genuinely be something like the FC's mic's broken, or he's disconnected, or whatever. Internet could have gone down, what have you. But if it is a full choke, you need to take that under control straight away. Now, I put this slide in. It's fairly obvious. If you're doing PvP, you're gonna die. You're doing PvP, let's face it. If you PvP long enough, you are going to lose a ship. It's only a matter of, it's not when, it's where, and how are you going to lose it. So you're going to lose it. It's almost always your own fault. Let's face it. Never fly something you can't afford to lose, and by undocking, you're consenting to PvP. Now, I've put this in because it's actually really important. I'm laughing because it happens periodically. We get people turn up to public fleets that you're in a 30-man fleet, and all of a sudden you get a blow. You literally get a blow by blow account of how they're dying. I'm laughing because it's quite funny, because I know that I probably did it right at the start. It's like, oh no, I'm scrammed. Oh no, I'm dying. Oh, I'm in my structure. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm in my pod. So those are all really, really sad things for you. But ultimately, the FC, unless it's a critical role like Logi, Dictors, Boost, that sort of thing, the FC doesn't really need to know that. He does if it's Logi. He does if it's a critical role like Dictor or Boost or so on and so forth. But aside from that, it's just a minus Raptor or a minus Logi, unless Keacte Ninja whoops you. That's true. Totally have done that before. In effect, what I'm trying to say is keep brevity is key in this. If you're dying, just say Logi taking damage, Logi's not holding, or you're going to be losing a dicta, dicta instructor, dicta down, that sort of thing. That allows the FC to just piece together, because he knows that if he's lost one dicta, straight away he's lost the capability for defensive bubbles, unless he's got a secondary, obviously. If he's lost one Logi, we've lost a third of our Logi potentially, so on and so forth. Having the additional -1 to a Titan. Having the additional kind of noise is not going to help the situation. It's very, very sad that you've lost your ship, though. I sound callous when I'm saying it, but what I mean is that it's try and die slowly. Die quietly, I should say. Now, organisation and multitasking are two of the main things that you need to be able to do when commanding a fleet. I've categorised them together as they're linked. If you're organised and have your support pilots and a thorough understanding as to your objectives, you're going to succeed. And if you can multitask and process lots of data coming from different people at different times, you're going to succeed. Now, multitasking creates efficiency. Think of a fleet member with one skirmisher. That one person has to check systems. They hunt for targets in systems and so on. It means that one person is overloaded. If you add another skirmisher to the mix, it doubles your efficiency. By association, it means it allows you to cast your net wider to destroy more targets. So multitasking is about managing multiple tasks at the same time without any kind of overarching delay. Now, if you're organised, this is going to create an efficiency. Now, I always have a route planned out in my mind. Now, I generally only formulate that when I actually log on because there are changes and so on and so forth. But I always have it planned out so that I can communicate it to the fleet early on. It means less delays, it means less disruption, it means less indecision, which is why when things like Thera holes go down, I get a bit annoyed because it's like, I've got grumble, got to go back and do this and go back 10 hops, and you end up wasting time. Time is a valuable resource for me, for you, for everyone that's playing. I like to try and think that I'm respectful of that, if that makes sense. But anyway, multitasking creates efficiencies. That's the current thrust of it. Now, when performed correctly and when combined, these skills will help you carry out more tasks and be competitive more overall, if that makes sense. It will help you kill stuff, basically. I put runaway in because it is a totally, you can smack all you want in local about people running away, and it is a totally valid strategy. There is no point, and I've been called this under the sun and that under the sun and so on and so forth for running away. I am not going to take a fleet of raptors, say a fleet of 30, into a fleet of 70 harpies with 3 times the amount of Logi. I am not stupid. I might be average at FCing, but there is no point in throwing away a fleet. There's no point in throwing your pilots away. Take engagements on your terms. Take engagements how you want to fight them and not how they want to fight you. If they wanted a fight, they would have brought an equivalent force, equivalent numbers, equivalent Logi, so on and so forth. They don't want to fight, they want a massacre. That's the cut and thrust of that. Running away is a 100% valid strategy. Don't ever think running away is anything but that. And to be fair, running away is actually sometimes more fun than the fight itself. I've got quite good at running away in all fairness. So periodically in fleet, and I'm gonna fess up slightly here, and you heard it here first, second, maybe, not sure. And I apologise if I've used any of you as my guinea pigs. If the kills are slowing down, or if people sort of seem disengaged, or I actually, and I'm just completely fessing up on this, I actually make tasks up for sometimes randomly selected fleet members. It's actually it will wake people up. It will help them feel involved, feel focused. It may be that I call for somebody to walk to a plex or a belt, or whatever, and tell me what you see on dscan. It might be for somebody to check .lan or check zkill. Now, what it actually serves the purpose is to keep people engaged and keep them focused. Because if you say, "Oh, can you check .lan?" You'll be amazed that half a dozen people will then go and check .lan, or they'll go and check zkill or whatever. You ask one person to do it, and before you know it, you've got 7 people checking, and then, oh, okay, we've got a target now, crack on, sort of thing. So it actually serves the purpose to allow people to feel more engaged and more focused. Now, once you've found your fight, try to keep comms as clear as possible, so you can call targets. Don't be afraid to say, to raise your voice. It's your fleet and you're in control. Don't be scared to tell people to shut up. I've had to do it on my fleets. I do sometimes message the person I might have told to shut up afterwards and say, look, no hard feelings. I just needed you to shut up. Having a third-party narrative about how they're webbed and scrammed, it goes back to what I said earlier, and deep in structure. It's very sad for them. Alas, it doesn't really help the situation strategically for the FC, and it's just static, it's just noise. Now, comms during a fight should be purely strategic information, so lodges not holding, localist spiking, things like that. Things that can tip the balance against your fleet. And it means to keep communication channels clear unless you've got really critical information. So if you do have critical information, say break or check, say this once, then wait for the FC to acknowledge. Then share the information. Use it sparingly. I've had people say check. Where are you? Oh yeah, I need to catch you. Yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I mean, that's not a break check. All that's going to do is just make me silently die slightly. Total fact, in all fairness. Now, if you find yourself when you're FCing or in a fleet, if you find yourself in a bad situation, don't be afraid to tell people to scatter, de-aggress, warp away. It will prevent a complete fleet whelp in severe instances. As I stated earlier, just 3 slides ago, it's a viable tactic, running away. Don't be worried about local chatter calling you out and everything under the sun. It's 100% psychological warfare, and in all fairness, that's a 100% viable tactic too. I do it myself. I try not to be smacky. It's totally viable though. Psychological warfare. You would be amazed what people have warped down to us just by saying, "Oh, come on, you can bring that down and fight us." And then all of a sudden they bring down a golem, 100, and try and engage, and then die 30 seconds later. It's kind of funny, in all fairness. Now, target calling. I'm going to cover target calling really quickly. When calling targets, it's important to ensure that you're clear and concise in your commands. If you can't pronounce names, and I appreciate English as a first language for me, but even then I fuck up some of the names. Call out the ship type. Call out the first 3 letters of the pilot name, or better still, click broadcast. I.e., I'm terrible, and people will understand this that have flown with me before. I'm terrible at the NATO phonetic alphabet. Try and use it though if you can. If you're slightly idiot like me, it's if you can use it. Broadcasting it's super helpful. It's super helpful for making sure that you hit primaries. When you're calling your primaries, also call a secondary. You can also call a tertiary. If it's small targets, before the first target goes down, if it's a small target, it might pop before you've even locked up the secondary. So lock up the primary, shoot the primary, lock up the secondary though. Once the primary's down, shift to the secondary. Once the secondary's down, that is now your primary. So your secondary is now your primary, your tertiary is now your secondary. Your primary is your primary target for DPS. With this, ensure that you're calling for your fleet to apply all DPS to the primary target and avoid splitting DPS. It's really, really, really important. And as Nessie said, some of the most creative phonetics. Tango Vango was my favourite. Anyway, Tango Vango Dango. Anyway, prioritise targets. Prioritising targets is what can make or break a fleet. Focus fire on logistics ships, followed by E-War. Squishier DPS, followed by the tankier DPS. Don't do what everybody does. See the biggest ship on grid, and then primary the thing that is going to last the longest. It's just not the way to do it. You can do it if you've got sufficient DPS to kill it very, very, very quickly, but it's not advisable. I mean, I focus generally on the Logi first, then E-War, then squishier DPS, and then to tankier DPS. You just whittle them down. Everyone on the Dommy, exactly. Everyone on the thing that's going to be a hull tank Dommy, let's face it. And in effect, squishier DPS first, then tankier DPS. It's a good method to follow as it removes available remote repairs from the grid and mitigates the amount of incoming E-War, which is going to prevent your logistics from being primaried. Don't just focus on one high value target because it's expensive. If it means removing other ships from the grid first, take care of that. If more logistics ships become present on grid, you'll need to mitigate them again. So drop from what you're doing back to the Logi, and then go back Logi to E-War to squishy to tanky, and just you'll keep racking up the kills. And when on grid fighting, make sure you're repeating your commands 2 or 3 times so that everybody is on the correct target. Situations do change in fights, I acknowledge that. Other stuff warps in. Specifically, if you're actually, just say for argument's sake, taking a fight in a staging system for like Frat or Horde or whoever it might be, they tend to warp stuff in. You kill one dude, and then 5 seconds later he's back in another ship and he's on grid, and he's gone from that, I don't know, like a cormorant. He was in a cormorant, now he's in a Deimos, and okay, go and kill his Deimos now. And then he goes from the Deimos into the into the Dominix, and you're like, hang on a sec, what's going on here? It's the same dude, we've killed him 3 times. What's going on? Repeat the command. That's basically the cut and thrust of it. And as I mentioned, primary means primary. Don't split DPS. Put all your DPS on the primary target by the FC, called by the FC. Trying to kill 2 or 3 ships at the same time, it's going to halve your DPS application, and it will lead to more time spent trying to kill those ships, which is going to lead to more deaths. So load the appropriate ammo, stay on the primary until such time it's dead, then switch to the secondary, lock up the tertiary. Now, this is an old pet peeve of anybody that was in Agony, in fact. Never say the J word, and that's jump. Every time somebody in a fleet that is not the FC says jump, I get a bit twitchy. And you'll be amazed, people just go through gates, and it's not the FC. You can have, somebody that's clearly not the FC say jump, and then all of a sudden you lose half your fleet to a gate, and you've got a hunter through far side who's just got probes on a tasty golem snack that's then just performs the F off and goes and docks up because we've lost those, that clearness of local. So many targets get scared because local goes up 3-4. So just agree now in your own mind, just to learn to moderate your language and just try not to say, just try and say just try not to say jump, basically. Unless you're the FC, in which case just say it as many times as you like. Now, I've spoken at length about hints and tricks to help an aspiring FC or someone who is a desire to FC or how to improve for quite a while now. It's a lot. I know it's a lot to take in. Now, if I was to take anything away from this, what I've said, take these 10 tips away. Critically evaluate how you would adapt them to enable you to become a confident FC. I'm an advocate of keeping things simple and sticking to what I know in an attempt to get incredibly good at delivering it. For me, that's small gangs, that's medium gangs. Take all the tools with you that you need and be sure to fly an appropriate ship and clone for every roam. Be inclusive for everyone. Don't turn people away. Allow them to adapt, allow them to evolve, and to help you adapt and evolve. Skill points aren't a barrier to enjoyment in EVE, and don't let anyone say otherwise. Biggest isn't always best. Be sure that you have balanced your fleet, and that you control all of and you have control at all times, and that you have clear objectives. Filter information, delegate tasks, but most of all, and the bottom one for me, have fun. I know that we've covered a lot, a huge amount in fact, and I know it's a lot of top level detail. And it's useful stuff for any aspiring FC or someone who has a desire to FC to consider in advance of running a fleet. There's a lot of things in here, I appreciate that. But the most important part of the presentation was, did you find the Easter eggs? So hit me with those Easter eggs. Tumbleweed. Okay, I'll just go through them. Now, just to clarify one thing, they don't actually serve any purpose. They just serve the purpose to keep you engaged. I was hoping that people might have noticed them. I think probably people will have, but you're probably being too shy. I'm not that scary. But yeah, there you go. They're the half dozen Easter eggs, 7 Easter eggs, whatever. Now, I know that we've spoken a hell of a lot. Yeah, they were the Easter eggs. So I know we've spoken a lot about a lot of things, but I want to cover a few final things. And these are movement on grid, how to find content, and how to make it fun for everyone. Movement on grid is a fine art. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep instructions simple. Use broadcasts, repeat orders, and be clear and concise. Now, people that have flown with me know that I have a significant amount of bookmarks. I've pretty much got every null set region bookmarked, pretty much. I've got tactical bookmarks on each gate. So when I'm on grid, I use these bookmarks to pounce on prey. I also drop bookmarks periodically, if you see what I mean. And I move very quickly, using fast hit and run techniques, mini warps, multiple warps, booshes, bubbles, and I try and gain the advantage on the hostile fleet. And I try and capitalize on ships that may have been out of place, isolated, left behind, in order to force engagement. Ultimately, as an FC, you've got the power to choose whether you take an engagement or not. You take that choice. Take the engagement on your terms and fight with your doctrine in mind. If you need range, dictate that range. If you need to brawl, brawl. Always, 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 always have an exit strategy, and always get ready to get out. It's not having that exit strategy will kill your fleet. It's simple as that. Which isn't really a problem. It's just frustrating because you have to regroup and then it kills time. People leave. You know. Now, I've focused sort of specifically on null set content, or I should say, I focus specifically on null set content. And for the purpose of this presentation, I've focused on null sec. Finding content is a fine art in EVE, and I kind of pride myself on having the ability to sniff out a fight. That's why over the last 300 odd roams, we've destroyed like nearly 3 trillion. We average about 6-7 bill destroyed every roam. Now, and that's in frigates. It's not in big ships. It's in frigates. It's in interceptors. I use a combination of tools to find the content. I use eScout. Allows me to get into Thera quickly. And then look for targets. I also use filaments when we have the ability to, when it's less than 25. I use filaments to get behind enemy lines, to get in without being detected, get in really quickly and get out. Thera allows you to advance into systems to catch people ratting, mining, missioning, so on and so forth. They feel safe there, and in all likelihood, it means that they can be they're going to be less cautious and drop their guard. And that's when we pounce. We look for busy systems with ratters, miners, and so on. I also look for staging systems to get people, because they become complacent. We've killed multiple. We actually killed a raw call in Frat staging system once. I still don't even know to this day how we did it. I mean, killing a raw call in like 30 raptors is insane. It takes a long time. Anyway, that's by the by. I look for busy systems, look for staging systems, like I said, look at the deltas and see where there might be more ratting in the last hour, for example. I also use Zkill. Like I said, I've got people that check on Discord on Zkill and so on and so forth. And I've got multiple bots set up to look for null set regions so that I can see pings for where the fights might be taking place. Quite often, though, we also take signal filaments, as said, to go to null set regions with activity, and I then use .land to kind of navigate to get those fights. Sometimes it doesn't go to plan, but if you use a combination of the above tools, you will find content, or the content will find you. One of the ways, somewhere in between. Now, I kind of excluded the detail in this slide from the previous slide, as NPSI, not Purple Shooter, is a whole separate entity. NPSI is fleeting up with the mentality of if you're not with me, you're against me. And broadly speaking, very broadly speaking, in EVE, this means that anybody in your fleet who by default appears as purple on your overview is your friend, and everything else is a valid target, and you can kill them. NPSI itself is content on demand, and as I mentioned earlier, I founded the NPSI Canada, NPSI.rocks, and we host about 20 NPSI groups and advertise their content daily. So if you want to get into PvP, go and have a look at NPSI.rocks. I've got a quick advert here for it, and then have a look-see. Oh, actually, it's the next slide. That's the website. So there you go. That's the website there. It's all gone wintry for because it's wintry. Go and have a look. There's almost always something there going on. Come along to the fleet, shoot stuff, have fun. And here is the little advert, I should say now.
Imagine a world where you don't need alliances or coalitions. A world where you can dive straight into battle, with no strings attached. Welcome to the universe of NPSI, not Purple Shoot It, where every fleet is a chance for glory, and every pilot is a potential comrade. At NPSI.rocks, we believe in the thrill of the fight. Our motto is quite simple: if you're not with us, you're against us. No alliances, no coalitions, just you, your ship, and your fleetmates, your grit and determination, and the next target on grid. NPSI.rocks is a calendar made by players, for players, putting freedom and fun first, and is your one-stop guide to public content on demand. The calendar is updated daily with fleets from all over New Eden. Whether it's a fast roam game, or a cloaky game, or a full-scale assault, you can just log in and get ready for battle. Welcome to the frontier of EVE Online, where NPSI is more than a strategy, it's a call to arms. Choose your destiny. Choose NPSI.rocks. Head to our website for more details on how you can get involved.
Cool stuff. Hope you enjoyed that. So this is actually my final slide. I know I'm just conscious of time. I hadn't appreciated how long this was going to be, so apologies, I have overrun slightly. So the final slide is, in my eyes, it's the most important slide in the deck. It's how to make it fun. It's basically get people involved. An engaged fleet member is a fleet member that will come back time and time and time again. Create a welcome and supportive, inclusive environment. FCs that make you feel welcome and create that environment that you want to be in will make you log in time and time again. Fleets where you actually fly your ship and have a degree of freedom to excel in piloting will get those same people to come back time again. Value your fleet members. Fleet members that feel valued will give them the drive to log in. And FCs that are supported will log in time and time again. And the last one is, I know I've crapped on about a variety of things. Keep it simple. Just keep it fun. It's super important. Keep it simple. Can't stress that more. That's pretty much it. Thank you for listening. That's the end of the presentation. There's all my contact details. You ping me on Discord. Happy to take whatever questions. I've set some time aside. Apologies to anybody that did have to duck off. I hadn't appreciated how long it'd take. I'm happy to take questions. Next fleet from me will actually be tomorrow. So anybody that wants to come along, please do so. You're quite welcome to come along. Please use the calendar. And that's pretty much it. So that will be 19:30 tomorrow from Keacte, Naked Clones. It'll be Combat Interceptors. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So any questions? Crack on. Don't be shy.
I think there were a few questions from earlier.
Let me have a look. Where are they? Where are they?
Had one about switching targets.
Ah, right, hang on. I've just found the chatter. I totally didn't have that open, by the way. Keacte makes me damp. Yes, thank you for that. Rage quitting in Eve is something entirely in all fairness. Number 5 is super important. Literally. Right, let me see. I'm trying to find.
I've bumped one of them, I think.
Up.
There has been quite a bit of shit talking in there.
No, I saw a few of them. How does one recognise when it's time to switch primary targets? I find it kind of hard once everyone is on the primary and it just won't die and or stuff warps in. It's a really good question, Marek, in all fairness. One that I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy answer. It legitimately isn't an easy answer because getting something into armor and that you just can't kill it, kind of it's a bit soul destroying when you kind of have to go back and then start on another target and then it regens and yada yada yada. So it's if you can't break something, look at it like, okay, we had a fight the other day and it was a Varga and it was a lone Varga when we engaged it. And we were at the stage whereby we were getting it into low shield, I believe it was. It was just bleeding armor, like nicking 2%, 3% in armor each time. And I was like, just overheat one cycle, crack on, overheat one cycle, losing 5%. Then he warped in another Varga and a few other bits and bobs, Gnosis and a few other bits. I think we killed the Gnosis. I think we killed like a Vex, I think it was, something like that. But the other Varga was basically just pinging us. I think he was arty fit and he was just pinging us and so on and so forth. And I should have just called us disengage and just warp out. Because as soon as that engagement profile completely changed the situation. It was just like that, the first was like, yeah, I'll take that, crack on, try and kill that Varga, move on to the next one, sort of thing. But as soon as that guy arrived, we should have just gone, no, let's go, kind of thing. Because we lost people. Make no bones about saying that. We lost probably like 2 Logi, probably like 3 or 4 Raptors in the process. I think a Dicta as well. So we've probably lost about 6 or 7 out of a fleet of about, 25, 30 maybe. It's really important though, and I think you've hit the nail on the head, is how do you know when to switch? If you can't kill it, I think is the easiest way of saying it. Or, I suppose one way of looking at it, if there's something else that lands on grid that you can kill, that can kill you. If they warped in, say, rapid light caracals or something like that, something that poses an immediate threat that's pretty squishy, that you can kill and just get the pod bubbled. So, and that's another thing actually. Don't kill pods instantly. Just bubble them, because that means they're not going to reship. If you bubble them, they're not going to warp their pod out. They can't. Yeah, I think it's a good question actually. In all fairness, and to be fair, it's one that I've probably. If I knew the answer, I would probably not get people killed as much. Maybe. Okay, so let me just see. The faster the fleet goes, the more content you'll find, but the faster you go, the fleet becomes less inclusive towards you. How do you balance this? Oh, that's a very, very fair point. I am notoriously, notoriously bad at moving quickly. I can't help it. I see straggling through, or running slowly through gate to gate to gate to gate to gate, as time not well spent. So people will often be in warp before they've even got into system, because I will be warping them. I live quite near to the server in the UK, and so my ping is very, 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 very quick. And that is a fact. I can see Fletcher typing. I know he's about to say it. That's my excuse. It totally is. But what I would say is, and it is a very, very valid point, is how do I balance this? I try to get people to regroup. I try to just slow down, like I mentioned, about just allowing people to just get caught up, so on and so forth. There are always going to be ships that are going to lag behind slightly. I would say probably regroup just slightly before you get to a fight. If your scouts are any good, they will be able to find a fight and they can communicate that to you, whereby you can get to that fight. But just hold one out so that you can then all get everybody in together, sort of thing. So, sorry, Fletch, go.
Well, I mean, I get this complaint when I move around a lot. Oh wait, am I keying up?
Yeah, you're there.
Okay, it's not highlighting for some reason. I get this complaint from like everybody else whenever I talk about our fleets, whenever I'm somewhere else doing something else, about how fast it moves and I can't keep up and blah blah. And it goes back to like, I guess the part where you were saying about like being a fleet good member and paying attention or whatever. If you listen to comms, and one of the most obvious tricks that I've always used is that Keacte will sometimes very badly say, take this fleet warp here, or something like that that's very arbitrary. You need to look just above, usually where your capacitor hangs out. It'll say warping to such and such gate. Always have the correct gate selected, all of that little stuff. We need to make a guide about it or something, but like people need to be better fleet members. It's the harsh way of saying it, but like it shouldn't be.
Yeah, you broke up at the end, but absolutely. I mean, from my perspective, I'm repeating the orders 3, 4, 5 times. If somebody doesn't get the order the first time, they should get it the second time. If they don't get it the third time, I think we've got wider problems in my eyes. I know I'm saying that slightly tongue-in-cheek, but what I mean by that is you're there to be in a fleet. Don't be watching YouTube, don't be watching Netflix and waiting for the FC to get you a kill just so I can bolster your Z kill and make it all green. I know that there are people. I know that there are people in fleet that's what they do, and that's not me having a dig or anything like that. I know that that's a fact. But what I would say is try and. I mean, it's a 6 of one, half does the other thing. There will be people that genuinely can't keep up. And they are new to the game. What I would say is nothing I am doing, and this I think is a very, very fair point. Nothing I am doing is anything but going from point to point to point to point, if you see what I mean. So I broadcast one destination. That destination is 10 hops. I broadcast another destination, which is another 5 hops on. And what I'll do is I'll go from 10 hops to 5 hops to 3 hops to 2 hops, and then you're at your target destination. Do you see what I mean? So there's a degree of Eve is a point-to-point game. The bits in between is the 95%, if that makes sense. 95% of FCing is cat herding. Yeah. The other 5% is trying to get a fight. Also, I should say the other 3% is trying to get a fight, trying to get the fight on your terms, on your gate, with a bubble up at 0, with your decloak cans out and yada yada yada. The other 2% is basically trying not to get killed, if you see what I mean. So, not sure if that answers, but I hope it goes some way to answer it. I'll have a think about that though, because I think that Warbud, you've made a very very fair point, and it's actually one of the things that we pride ourselves on. We also have a new bro training program. This is my own little personal bump for it. It's the newbie space program. What we've tried to do is do like a PvP 101 light. And we do this fortnightly from Wednesdays. And so every sort of fortnight we do a new bro room, newbie pilot room. So we run through these things very quickly, but very slowly, if that makes sense. So we run through how do you align somewhere? How do you jump a gate? How do you so on and so forth. No, Fletch, you're fine. I think I lost you at I think it was a suitable juncture. But
I didn't want to come across as harsh, but it's one of those things where like it frustrates me because everybody's like, oh, I don't go on it because it's so fast, and I'm like, but man, like if you would listen to comms just a little bit more,
100%,
where you're at, and always have the gate that you're on. selected. You know, I used to be a bad one for that one, like not having the gate that you're on selected, so that when it comes time to jump through, you jump somewhere. You don't jump through, you warp somewhere else because it's the yellow brick road or whatever, and then it takes you a long time to get back to the fleet because you don't know where you are and that kind of stuff. Like people need to learn to fly their own ships, unfortunately, and we need to help them do that a lot more. And that's my goal for 2025, I guess now.
Yay! But you know, I mean, it's a very, very fair point. Likewise, what Fletch said, and also what Warbud said. It's I think inclusivity is super important. Eve Uni, obviously, very, very clearly are about that too. And I think, I mean, with my kind of experience from Agni as well, it's something I'm very, very pro. Saying to somebody, no, you must not do this because, or no, you can't come to this because of skill points and blah, 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 that's rubbish. If anybody says that to you, just say, actually, no, Keacte said, and I will go and speak to them. Because if they're saying that, they're a bit of a dick. Pardon the French, but yeah, if anybody says that, you know, you can't do something because of skills or whatever, that's rubbish. Honestly, they will find. We have had new bros less than 6 hours in fleets with me. And we have found them a ship to fly. We have got them into a ship. We have got them a ship that's appropriate for their skills, and they have kept up with us. So if anybody says contrary to that, that they need to take a long, hard, good look at themselves in the mirror. No, I'm jesting slightly, but you know what I mean. So, question is from Zizar. Is your knowledge of null set regions and what content you can find there, where staging system are, or do you have notes? Do you follow null politics? Oh, that's a good question. No, no, I do not follow any of the politics. There have been instances where I've taken us to what was the staging system for XYZ person or XYZ group. We've got there. And it's like, no, these guys moved out 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's go somewhere else. Generally, like, I know where the frats are, I know where the hordes are, I know where the braves are, I know where Eve Uni are as well now, so I've got you on my sites now. So, and you know, it's useful. To be honest, there's always somebody in fleet that knows the politics. That yeah, have you moved again? Oh crikey! See, I told you I can't keep up with it. But there will always be somebody who knows the politics more than I do. I know where the basic areas are, like I know Fortac H, and I know MJ5, you know, wherever it is, and I know that you know, 5 hops in or around, you know, OJ3-1 and so on and so forth. You know that you're going to get everybody coming through from MJ5, that sort of thing. It's like I know the hotspots, and I know where they got the ANSIs. Obviously, antiplex projection. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just might think it might need some tweaks. I get that, you know, certain nullsec groups have the power to project and so on and so forth. Not against that. Never have been against that. I just think it needs a little bit of moderation, because if a 50-man gang in considerably slower ships can move very, very, very quickly, way more quickly than a fleet doctrine that is designed to move quickly, there's something a bit broken about that. Really, and I will just take a filament and go. So sorry, I'm not going to block you. I'm going to block your content if you're going to block my content. It's got that petulant and childish. It's like Christmas morning with silly presents. So hopefully that answers your question, Z. If it doesn't, we can just DM me. You know where I am. Question for Keacte from Twitch. Eve Uni is a learning organisation, which naturally also means it's a very high number of pilots that are still learning fundamentals like the terminology, where to find buttons. However, more experienced pilots will get bored quickly if you over-explain and focus too much on the foundational stuff rather than focusing on finding and killing stuff content. How do you reckon an organisation like Eve Uni can balance these two things? It's a really good question. I'll be honest with you. I don't know the answer to that. I think, and one of the things that we've tried to do with the newbie space program is to do some like very, very light, very, very quick like 101 videos. We've got a number of videos now on our YouTube channel that are just basically like, this is an intro to XYZ type of role, this is an intro to this type of role. So like skirmishing, this is an intro to like interdictors, what they are, how they work, what they do, what the pros, what the cons, so on and so forth. Now, so the where I just seen Nessie's comment. That's really good that you're working on that. It's super important. People have changed, and this actually, although it's not my industry or anything like that. People's learning habits have changed in such a way that they want bite-sized stuff. They want to be able to watch a quick 1-minute video rather than read a wall of text about a process. You've got to understand, not everybody's an English language speaker, as English as a first language. So having the ability to watch a video will be 10 times more effective than a wall of text. Just literally seeing something, be like, ah, right, that's how that works. Oh, right, that's how it works. Bushing, for instance, that's one that I've got a video in the not via me, but somebody is actually prepping a video for us at the moment on that. So yeah, it's a good question. The second part, however, more experienced partner will get bored quickly if you over-explain. Yeah, I mean, it's it's just scrolled up. I've just lost it. You've got a full present. Share mini. Oh, nice. I think bite-sized stuff absolutely is the way forward. People's attention span. Somebody mentioned TikTok. 100% agree with that. If I'm honest, I cannot stand the concept of shorties and shorts or whatever you call them. But it's totally the way forward. People, what's the word? People learn by flicking, and they flick. Once you get into that meta, people learn super. As Zizar said about send more uni pilots to the FUN and ER fleets that we do. So they're every Wednesday. They're on the calendar. I think I've missed another couple of questions. I saw one. EV Uni TikTok, absolutely should do one. We used to have full presentation, but now share mini tutorials.
I think there was one asking about what is a buzzback.
Oh, what is buzzback? What is buzzback? It's the northeastern pocket in Kalevala. It literally is. It's a system called BZ/BCK, buzzback. I always mention it on fleets, and it's because, long story short, we took a wormhole one time from, I won't say where, but we took a wormhole from somewhere and landed in the buzzback pocket, and we killed, did we kill a Nix? I think it was a Nix or a... Yeah, I know it wasn't a Titan, put it that way. God damn it. I think it might... No, actually it wasn't a Nix, it was a Thanatos, I think it was. So we killed a Thanatos, like, literally. I think Gideon, actually, you would have been there for that one. I think you might have even been scouting, to be fair. Or if not scouting, dictating, certainly. But yeah, we bounced into buzzback pocket and literally, killed a Thanatos, then literally left. They didn't even realise where we came from. It was quite funny. So that's what a buzzback is. And what's wing? I see wing now.
What's up, mate?
How you doing, buddy? What time is it there? It's got to be about 7 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing up?
8 in the morning, mate, yeah.
You've just missed all the fun, but we were doing...
All right, saw my favourite NPSI nerd chat and I had to come by and say good day.
Why would you not do that? Why would you not do that? Happy Christmas.
Likewise to you and everyone else here.
But yeah, so I think, unless anybody's got more questions, shoot me any direct messages or whatever, DMs, if you've got any questions. If you want to get into FCing, there've been FCs that have contacted me, budding FCs that have contacted me, and wanted to get into FCing, and I'm happy to help you. Ultimately, we've all got a. I'm gonna sound a bit odd when I say this, but we've all got a responsibility in this game. We can just go from A to B to C to D, and then die in the process and go A to B to C to D and get bored in the process and then leave the game. Or we can do something that's meaningful in between. If you want to try and do the stuff that's meaningful in between, hit me up. Just drop into DMs. I'm happy to help. Happy to help. I might not necessarily know all the answers. I'm still learning myself. I've done this for a long time though. I know certain areas of FCing, and I'm quite good at certain areas of it. I'm quite bad at some areas of it, but if I don't know the answer, I will just tell you that I don't know the answer. But yeah, don't be scared. And I think there's one thing that I would take away from all of this is don't be scared about FCing. FCing is literally, if you can travel 20 or 30 hops in your own ship and understand how you're getting from A to B to C to D and going gate to gate or whatever, you can FC a fleet. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's really, really important. The majority of the FC or fleet commanding experience is just moving. It's just moving people from A to B. If you've just verbalized what you're doing, think of it, you go through a gate. Right, what am I doing when I get through that gate? I'm going to align to the next gate. Where is the next gate? Okay, the next gate is ABC gate. Fleet align ABC gate. And then just right click, walk. The only difference is when you're the FC, you have extra commands on your right click context menu. That's the only difference. And that you might get a few people killed. But obviously it's not in real life. It's a pixel. If you have fun in the process, and this is one of the things I did say, if you have fun in the process, that's the most important thing. And as Marek quite rightly said, once you lose that fear of wiping the fleet, not wiping your feet, wiping the fleet, things become significantly easier. And please, when you do come through the door, wipe your feet, obviously. But it becomes significantly easier once you lose that fear. Don't ever be under the illusion that when you're FCing a fleet, that people don't want you to succeed. People do want you to succeed. Anybody that says anything otherwise, they need to reassess themselves. That's a them problem. That's not a you problem. And anybody that shit talks FCs, honestly, you want them out of your corp. We should be supporting these people. And that goes for the new FCs, the older FCs, anybody in between, anybody with FCs. I just think, honestly, just support them, basically. That's the current thrust of it. So, Bates has got very dirty feet by the sounds of it. Nessie wipes the feet because of the weather. Oh yeah, things of note coming up, as Fletch says. Friday Yar is in an hour, so if you like pirates and going Yar and stuff, Friday Yar are going out in an hour and a quarter. And Shrink Wrap be tomorrow, 19:30 from Jita. Yeah, and Raven X, as quite rightly said though, give honest, direct feedback. It's actually really important for a new FC. Know your where to improve, and where they've done well. If for every bad thing that somebody says to you, it weighs 5 times the amount as one good thing. Yeah. So that by association, to balance things off, for every bad point that somebody makes, they've got to tell you 5 good things. So if they tell you 5 good things, they can tell you 1 bad thing. If they tell you 10 bad things, you ain't done bad. They're just really, really fucking picky. But jokes aside, work on the 5-to-1 premise. I think it's really, really useful. 5 positive points, 1 bad point. If you want to give 2 bad points, 3 bad points, crack on. But I think it's important. So, anybody got any other questions, or does everybody want to go to bed because they're bored of hearing me talk? I just got here, so I might be missing the context, but suggesting how something could be better count as a bad point, or is it outside of the paradigm? No, what I mean is that getting feedback from people for, yeah, Marek, you've hit them on the money there. Basically, if you're an FC, getting feedback for how you've FC'd is really important to help them grow, but try and be balanced in it. I don't want to say go easy on them or anything like that, but be fair in your critique of them, I would say, and be balanced, if that makes sense. It's, saying, oh, we died and it was a shit fleet isn't really feedback, but yeah, exactly. You did this right and this wrong, but I like your tie. I get that regularly, in all fairness. I don't even wear ties. I don't know where they're looking for. But no, what I mean, I suppose the cut and thrust of it is that for somebody to improve, they need to know where the deficiencies are. If they can understand their deficiencies, they can work on those deficiencies. If its fleet movement was bad, i.e. it was slow, they could work on their fleet movement next time, for example. It could be something as simple as they don't have, for argument's sake, they might not have two screens, and it's making navigating .lan difficult, for example. I know that I used to have to Alt-Tab, and as soon as I got a secondary screen, it transformed the game for me. It just made it significantly easier. I could just literally just watch on the left screen, left screen, and so on and so forth. It makes it significantly easier to do. But yeah, Marek, 3 points critique. I did just come up with 15 things to do. Yeah. I mean, it's probably not the rule of thumb, but you know what I mean. Try and be balanced. I think that's the cut and thrust of it. Actually, I think a couple of people have said stuff on the stream. Hey, Mr. Unlucky. Switching targets equals more of a feel and experience. Yeah, that's true. If something's not dying, it's not going to die. And I think, yeah, I'd kind of crapped on about that. Learn to fly your own ship, listen, equals a win-win. That's fair. And learn how to read the message today. Yeah, you'd be amazed how many, people just don't read the message today. I mean, totally. On a scale of 1 to the Matani at FanFest, how drunk should you be as an FC? I've FC'd a couple of fleets where I've been quite tipsy. That's what I'm going to say. I think the experience is interesting, put it that way. That's all I'm saying. I know that some people will not fly with drunk FCs, and I try and stay sober, if I'm honest. There have been a few instances. The summer's actually bad for me because I go for walks during the day on Saturday and I run a fleet in the evening on Saturday. So generally what happens, if it's nice and sunny, I end up in the pub during the day on Saturday. And unfortunately, sometimes, a few instances this year where I did end up quite pissed up and, I'm not talking like blind drunk or anything like that, but sufficiently drunk that it probably meant that I was talking bollocks, but more bollocks than normal, I should say. But anyway. Quite tipsy understatement. Yeah, that's fair play. Right. Question from Booker. Best type of fleets to start FCing. It's very, very, in my opinion, you can't go wrong with armor frigates. Armor frigates, armor assault frigates, destroyers, that sort of stuff. You can take Logi with you. I would say personally, yeah, go with that. Start simple. It's really, really easy to do so. I generally go with like a local rep, sort of armor. Then that way you can patch yourself up at mid-safe, that sort of thing. You don't necessarily need to take Logi. It's nice to have Logi if you can. It's not always obviously guaranteed. Obviously it depends on numbers, so on and so forth. But I would say armor frigates. You can take cruisers, that sort of stuff. Cost-wise, yeah, Deacons will make you feel nice and cozy. Yeah, 100%. Even just like T1 Inquisitors, that sort of stuff. Inquisitors, Navitas, whatever it is. Take that sort of stuff out. It's that will keep you sound. You don't need to take out battleships. You don't need to take out this, that, and the other. Cheap and cheerful. You'll have fun more. You'll have more fun in the process. Yeah, that's true, Marek. That's a fair point. I generally go just purely for the local reps. It just makes it a little bit easier. Brawling is easier as a newer pilot, I think. Kiting needs more spatial awareness, situational awareness. It also requires a little bit more understanding about grid, if that makes sense, in terms of different dangers, keeping yourself safe, so on and so forth. But I would say armor is easier as an FC at the start, because once they're on you, you are committed. Once you're on them, you are committed, and there's only one way this is going to end up. You're committed, and you either kill them or you don't. So I would say personally, I think armor is a good way to start FCing, like frigates, destroyers, that sort of stuff. Armor, assault frigates, if you fancy it. You can't go wrong with a fleet of like retributions or wolves or jags, for example. You can't go wrong with them. One Merlin fleet we went out with destroyed 1.3 where you can punch a hole. Oh yeah, 100% with Merlins. We actually years and years back we used to have a little doctrine that we used to run in Agony. It was literally called Cheap Fleet, and we would literally just take Merlins out, and we would buy like a stack of them, like 20, 30, and we'd just go out like 3, 4, 4, 5 sort of thing, and we just literally just go and kill an Ishtar. Perhaps we lose 1 or 2 in the process, get the standing fleet on us, and then just bounce and just go and kill their light tackle and so on and so forth. It's 100%. It's everybody focus. I don't mean everybody. That's wrong. A lot of people, when they come to EVE, they see the big shiny ships and they see the videos and so on and so forth, and they get caught in that. But what you've got to understand is that to get from point A to point B, or I should say from point A to point D or whatever, you've got to go via B and C. The B and C is the process of learning, and it's the process of upskilling and so on and so forth. And you've got to fly the smaller class ships to understand the larger ships. If you bypass points B, C through to X, Y, Z, so on and so forth, before you know it, you're going to be losing something big and stupid because you have misunderstood a mechanic, if that makes sense. I didn't realize I could dock. I was in this is 100% happened to us. This is 100% happened to us, and it's actually, in all fairness, it's actually in the buzz back pocket. And that, again, we killed a different Thanatos, on a structure because he undocked from the structure and thought he would take some pop shots at us. He thought he could disengage. It took us a long time to kill him, but he did die, and he then asked us, how did you kill me? Why couldn't I dock? He couldn't dock because he didn't understand the docking mechanics in a structure. He had aggression, so he couldn't dock. But yeah, that was quite funny in all fairness. It took us a long time to kill him, though. It was only about 10 of us. And yeah, Shrink Raptors just fancy Merlins. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's totally accurate. It's just and I'll let you into a secret. The Raptors was purely we went with that because of the utility mid slot. I know a lot of people look at other what do you call it, combat NTs and go, oh, this is better, so on and so forth. Predominantly because of the DPS, but the Raptor allows you the extra scope of the extra EWA. So all of the fits that I have generally got like a point and a web, or a point and a scram, a point and a damp, a point and a track, a point and a paint, so on and so forth. So it allows you that extra utility to really control the grid in terms of like EWA and so on and so forth. And that, like I said, EWA is massively under I'm not going to say undervalued, because people understand it's important. However, they undervalue it in terms of fielding it in a managed and controlled and metered manner, if that makes sense. I've seen fleets, people going out without scrams and without webs, and I just think, well, why do you need 30 points? You don't need 30 points, because the first 5 is going to secure you the kills. The extra 15 is just totally pointless. You might as well not have brought them, if you see what I mean. You might as well just unfit that module, not use it. You might as well just fit some extra tank, or whatever. It's so, to me, fielding that balance, that's where it becomes of value. Having multiple scrams, having multiple webs, things like that. Yeah, exactly. It is, Fletch, you've hit the nail on the head there. It's just the Agony's Hydra doctrine. It's basically is exactly that. I've just developed it, and the only reason why it works, one of the principal reasons why it works, is because of the overheat on the MWD. What other ships can you chuck an overheat on and go 7k a second? None. I challenge you to find any, and also have some DPS and have significant E-war. There's not many ships that can do it, and that's why Raptors are awesome. So, I think I've caught all the questions that people had. I don't think there are any more, but if anybody has got any more questions, just DM me, or just ping me on Discord, whatever, or in game, whichever suits. All my contact details are here. I'm gonna wrap up the stream. I'll stop sharing my screen. I might just drop off comms for like 5 minutes and then stick around. If anybody has got any questions, want to say anything off comms, or ask any questions off comms, by all means do so. But give me like 2 minutes, I'll wrap up the stream and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to look to wrap up the stream now. Thanks for sticking around. I'm going to stop now, and I'll chuck a raid up for someone. Let me see who's. Okay, so I'm going to chuck a raid up now. So sit tight, have an awesome weekend. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas. I'll see you guys soon. So next fleet for me will be tomorrow. Usual service will be resumed very, very, very soon once Christmas is over. I'll chuck a raid up to Mr. Unlucky because he was on stream and said hello. So raid is going up now. Have an awesome weekend and fly safe, and see you guys soon. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. Hope you learned something. If you did, awesome. If you didn't, DM me any questions you've got also, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.
Skill training completed.